Hey there, I'm the Razor Storyteller, behind the barber's chair for over a decade, honing my straight razor and listening to the world's greatest tales one line at a time. My clients, strangers at first, friends by the end, have trusted me with their most personal journeys, and with their blessing, I share them here. Today's story isn't fiction. I've changed her name to protect her privacy, but our main character, Maya, once believed she was just invisible. Framed for stealing her boss's crown jewel hard drive and nearly ruined by powerful men, she fought back with nothing but her wits and a hidden digital arsenal. So sit back. Here's Maya's story, in her own words. Hey guys, have you ever walked into a room and felt instantly judged by your appearance? Boxed in by the job you do, the clothes you wear, or even where you were born? We've all been there, more or less, that feeling of being underestimated, looked down on, of being invisible. But what happens when that condescension isn't just a passing glance or a whispered comment? What happens when it turns into an accusation that could destroy your entire life? And more importantly, what happens when the person looking down on you picks the wrong target? The story you're about to see today is the ultimate version of that feeling. A story that isn't just from the movies, but is woven from the very real threads of the ruthless tech world, of subtle discrimination, and of the hidden power inside the people we least expect. Picture this: a $20 million penthouse overlooking Puget Sound, Seattle. There's no gentle music or the clinking of wine glasses, but the sound of a door being smashed open. Shadowy figures in FBI tactical gear swarm in, red laser sights scanning across expensive furniture. In the middle of this chaos is the stunned face of Spencer Sterling, a young tech CEO, the boy king of the Seattle startup scene, who just hours before was on top of the world. How did it come to this? How did a tech prodigy get handcuffed in his own temple? The answer doesn't lie in a failed transaction or an illegal business deal. It started with an act that took place 6 hours earlier. An act that seemed so small, an accusation aimed at a woman who was nearly invisible in his eyes. Maya, the family's part-time housekeeper, and the missing item wasn't money or jewelry. It was a tiny hard drive, but inside it was the soul of a multi-hundred-million-dollar empire. It was the heart of the code. Spencer thought he could use his power and money to crush a powerless person. His accusation wasn't just an attack on her honor, but an attack designed to destroy her future. But Spencer made a fatal mistake, the kind that all arrogant people make. He didn't just accuse an ordinary housekeeper. He had just provoked a hidden expert. He thought he was a wolf toying with a lamb, but he didn't realize he had just stepped into the territory of a snow leopard. So, what did this woman do? How did she turn an accusation into a conviction for her own accuser? In today's video, I'm going to show you the entire journey, step by step, from the moment a woman was backed into a corner to the moment she executed a spectacular takedown in cyberspace that sent shockwaves through the city of Seattle. This isn't just a story about revenge. It's a lesson on the power of knowledge, dignity, and truth in the digital age. So sit tight, because the show is about to begin. 6 hours before that door was smashed open, the penthouse was not in chaos. On the contrary, it was nearly silent. A chilling stillness, like the air right before a great storm hits. In that stillness, there was only one movement: Maya. She moved through the modern kitchen, a space as sleek as a laboratory, with almost mechanical precision. Each cleaning cloth was folded at a perfect angle. Each bottle of cleaning solution was lined up, labels facing out. Her movements were not the rushed motions of an employee, but the focused work of a surgeon. Every action was deliberate, neat, with nothing wasted. It was her way of creating order in a chaotic world. And in her 3 months of part-time work here, she had realized that Spencer Sterling's home, beneath its glittering facade, was a profoundly chaotic place. The stillness was shattered. Spencer Sterling burst into the living room, not with the calm gait of a CEO, but with the frantic pace of a wounded animal. His perfectly styled hair was a mess. His face was flushed, and his eyes darted around the room as if searching for something invisible. He didn't even notice Maya's presence, not until he couldn't find what he was looking for. "Where is it?" His voice was hoarse with panic. "Where's my hard drive?" He stormed toward Maya, stopping right in front of her in a blatant invasion of her personal space. "The drive! The black lassie!" You were the only one near my office this morning. Where is it?" Maya stopped her work. She looked up, her calm eyes meeting Spencer's fury. Her voice was level, without a ripple. "Mr. Sterling, I didn't see any hard drive. I only cleaned the living room and kitchen area, as scheduled." "Don't lie to me," Spencer roared, pointing a finger directly at her face. "Do you have any idea what's on that? It's not a few stupid photos. It's source code. Trade secrets. The entire future of Sterling Innovations. My entire life is on that goddamn drive." His panic had now curdled into malice. He looked Maya up and down, his eyes filled with contempt. "I know your type. You see something expensive and you can't help yourselves, but you picked the wrong house to steal from. I'm calling the police. I'm calling your company. I will make sure you never get another job in this city again." As the venomous threats poured out, another sound rose, cutting through the thick atmosphere. A cry. The piercing, desperate cry of a newborn. It was Leo, Spencer's 8-month-old son, from the adjacent bedroom. Spencer flinched, not out of concern, but out of annoyance at the interruption. He didn't even bother to turn his head. Instead, he yelled at the wall, "Hey Alexa, play white noise for the baby, max volume." But the baby's cries grew more desperate, overpowering the soulless white noise coming from the smart speaker. It wasn't the cry of hunger or sleepiness. It was the cry of a creature in real distress. Maya bit her lip. The work rules were clear. Do not interfere with a client's family matters. But her human instinct, the instinct of someone who had cared for her own nieces and nephews, took over. She quietly set down the bottle of glass cleaner, walked past Spencer, who was busy with his phone, and headed toward the baby's room. The scene inside made her frown. The baby was red-faced, his diaper was soaked, and the smart thermostat was set to a temperature that was far too cold. She quickly assessed the situation, changed him into a clean diaper, rewrapped his blanket, and gently lifted Leo into her arms. She began to hum a soft lullaby in Spanish, one her mother used to sing to her. Within a minute, the crying stopped. Leo nestled into Maya's arms, his breathing slowly evening out, as peaceful as a ship that had just found a safe harbor after a storm. When Maya walked out holding the sleeping baby, she saw Spencer staring, phone still in hand. Surprise flickered across his face, but it was instantly replaced by suspicion and sarcasm. "What a convenient coincidence," he said, his voice dripping with venom. "The thief is also a baby whisperer." He stepped forward, reaching out to take his son. But this time, there was something different in Maya's voice. The quiet subservience was gone. In its place was a steely coldness. "Mr. Sterling." She wasn't looking at him, but at the wall straight ahead. Her voice was clear and sharp in the silence of the room. "You said you would warn everyone about my type." She slowly turned her head, and for the first time all day, she looked directly into Spencer's eyes, an unblinking gaze that seemed to pierce right through his arrogant shell. "Please clarify, Mr. Sterling. What type of person are we talking about exactly?" Spencer Sterling, the CEO, the king of the startup world, for the first time in the entire exchange, was speechless. He stood there, stunned, realizing the storm he had just unleashed was perhaps about to change direction. The silence in the room stretched on. It only lasted for 3 seconds, but to Spencer Sterling, it felt like an eternity. For the first time in his life, he, a man who always had an answer for everything, was rendered utterly silent by someone he saw as thin air. His confidence, built on a foundation of money and power, had been shaken by a simple question. But a bruised ego quickly turns to rage. He couldn't accept being on the back foot. He let out a laugh, a dry, forced sound. "What type of person?" He growled, trying to reclaim his superior air. "The kind that thinks they can challenge me. We'll see about that. Security, get up to the Penthouse now and call the Seattle PD. Tell them we have a theft and an uncooperative subject." He pulled out his phone, furiously dialing a number. He thought this was the finishing move, the way to reassert his authority. But while Spencer was screaming into his phone, Maya acted. She gently placed the baby, Leo, back in his smart crib, carefully tucking the blanket around him. In its own way, that action was more terrifying than her words. It was like a general gearing up before a battle. The phase of compassion was over. The phase of tactics had begun. She walked quietly back to the kitchen counter where her handbag lay. Spencer, too engrossed in his performance of power, didn't notice. Maya pulled out her own phone. It wasn't the latest iPhone, but an older, customized Android model with a matte black, logo-free casing. Her fingers danced across the screen like a concert pianist warming up. She opened an application whose interface was nothing but green command lines on a black background. To Spencer, it would have been a meaningless jumble of characters. But to Maya, it was the gateway to the world where she truly belonged. She activated a hidden script she had installed on the building's network during her first week on the job, a precautionary measure her experience had taught her. She hadn't done it with malicious intent. She had done it for self-defense. That script, disguised as a routine system update, had given her a backdoor into the building's entire digital nervous system, from Wi-Fi access logs and security camera data to the smart home control systems in every single apartment. Spencer ended his call, a triumphant look on his face. They're on their way. You have 5 minutes to think about the mistake of your life. Maya didn't even look up. She just said, her voice as cold and precise as a line of machine code. There's always a digital trail, Mr. Sterling. The question is whether you know where to look. She needed more than just raw data. She needed a more powerful analysis tool, one she had written herself years ago but no longer had access to. She opened an encrypted calling app and dialed the only contact saved under the name Ben. The other end picked up after one ring. "Who is this?" a man's voice asked, slightly wary. "Ben, it's me," Maya said, her voice shifting slightly, softer but still filled with urgency. "Maya? My God, is that really you? Where have you been for the past 2 years?" "Long story," she replied curtly. "I need a favor. I need you to grant me temporary access to Chimera, just for 1 hour." There was a silence on the other end. "Chimera? That's government level. You know I can't." "Wait, don't tell me you're in trouble. The legendary M-Byte needs help?" "M-Byte is in the past, Ben," she said, a flicker of sadness in her voice. "There's only Maya now, and Maya is being accused of stealing something she didn't take. I need to prove it. Please, Ben, for old time's sake." Another pause. Then Ben sighed. "All right, 1 hour. I'm sending the temporary access key over an encrypted signal. Be careful, Maya. The best white hat hacker I ever knew shouldn't end up on the evening news." "Thanks, Ben. I owe you one." She ended the call. A few seconds later, a notification appeared on her screen. Access granted. Now, she didn't just have data. She had a telescope to look into that data universe. She launched the Chimera program, and her phone's screen transformed into a complex command center. She began sifting through terabytes of the building's data, searching for anomalies, for currents flowing against the tide. And then she saw it. A large data packet had been uploaded from the apartment's internal network at 7 a.m., 2 hours before she arrived. It wasn't downloaded. It was uploaded to an overseas cloud server, and the IP address that executed the command was not Spencer's. She ran the IP address through a lookup program. Her heart didn't beat faster, it just grew colder. The IP address was registered to David Chen, co-founder, business partner, Spencer Sterling's best friend. Maya looked up at Spencer, who was pacing the room like a caged tiger, waiting for the police to arrive and witness his drama. She understood everything. The hard drive hadn't been stolen. It had been copied and remotely wiped. The accusation against her wasn't a spontaneous act of panic. It was part of a larger plan. A drama staged to create a scapegoat, a perfect diversion while a coup was happening right behind Spencer's back. Maya smiled, a barely perceptible smile. She didn't just have the evidence to prove her innocence. She was holding the string that could bring down the entire stage. An ordinary person, after finding evidence proving their innocence, would probably go straight to the police. But Maya was no ordinary person. Experience had taught her a costly lesson. Truth in the hands of the weak can be easily twisted or ignored by the powerful. Giving the evidence to Spencer now was pointless. He would destroy it. Giving it to the police without preparation, they could be slowed down by pressure from Spencer's lawyers. She needed a third party, an incorruptible arbiter. She needed sunlight. Her hands flew across the screen, opening an encrypted email app. She composed a new message. Recipient Julian Croft, an independent investigative journalist renowned in the tech world for his uncompromising exposés. Email subject: exclusive. proof of conspiracy, manipulation, and false accusation at Sterling Innovations. Inside, she attached everything, arranged in a perfect, undeniable package. File 1, an audio file recording the entire conversation, with Spencer's voice clearly threatening and accusing her. File 2, the complete, analyzed network logs, showing exactly how David Chen's IP address accessed and copied the data, along with precise timestamps. File 3, a brief, to-the-point summary explaining the entire chain of events logically. She wrote not with the voice of a victim, but with the voice of an analyst presenting a case. She typed the final line, "Mr. Croft, this truth needs to be known by the public. Do what you do best." And then she hit send. A digital bombshell had just been dropped. At that exact moment, the doorbell rang, a piercing sound that shattered her concentration. Spencer flinched, then a malicious smile spread across his face. "They're here," he said, his voice full of satisfaction. "Your little show is over." He rushed to open the door. Standing outside were two of the building's security guards, followed by two Seattle police officers, an older, seasoned man and a younger female officer. "Thank God you're here," Spencer said with the voice of a pitiable victim. "The thief is right in there. She stole millions of dollars worth of my company's intellectual property." He pointed toward Maya, who had now calmly put her phone in her bag and stood up straight. The older officer, whose name tag read Riley, looked at Maya, then back at Spencer. He had the eyes of a man who had seen every kind of story in the world. That Spencer's exaggerated panic and Maya's uncanny calm immediately put him on alert. "Mr. Sterling, we'll look into it. Ma'am," he said, turning to Maya, "we'll need you to come with us to the station to give a statement." Spencer smirked. "That's right, take her away." But Maya showed no fear. She looked directly into Officer Riley's eyes, her voice still even and clear. "Officers, I understand Mr. Sterling has made a serious accusation, and I am willing to cooperate. However, before you take any action, I suggest you request access to and review the building's security logs and network data for the past 6 hours. The entire truth has been digitally recorded." She paused for a beat, then added a sentence that made Spencer freeze. "To ensure transparency, a full copy of that evidence was also sent to an independent third party just moments ago. Everything will be made public shortly." Officer Riley frowned. This was not the typical reaction of a thief caught in the act. The younger Officer Evans glanced at her partner, recognizing the situation's complexity, and then it began. A soft buzz. It was Officer Evans's phone. She glanced down at her screen, then looked up, her expression surprised. Then Officer Riley's phone buzzed, then the phones of the two security guards. Finally, Spencer's phone. It didn't just vibrate, it buzzed violently, incessantly, as if it were about to explode. His screen lit up with a flood of notifications from Twitter, LinkedIn, and news apps. He tremblingly opened Twitter. A name hit him in the face, Julian Croft, and a tweet thread that was spreading like wildfire. Hot thread inside the conspiracy, manipulation, and false accusation drama at tech giant Sterling Innovations. The second tweet. Part 1, The Accusation. Listen to the exclusive recording of CEO Spencer Sterling threatening a housekeeper, framing her for a theft that never happened. An audio file was attached. The third tweet, Part 2, The Digital Ghost. Network log analysis shows the real culprit was co-founder David Chen, who remotely copied the data and staged the scene. A series of data screenshots were attached, with the critical command lines circled in red. The fourth tweet. The proof. Here is the complete raw data. See for yourself. #Sterling exposed. Justice for Maya. Spencer Sterling's face went white as a sheet. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He looked up at the others in the room. All of them, from the two police officers to the security guards, were staring at their phones, then back at him with disbelieving eyes. His victory had evaporated. His arrogance had crumbled. The drama he had so carefully staged to destroy an innocent woman had now become the stage for his own public humiliation, broadcast live for the entire world to see. Officer Riley slowly put his phone away. He wasn't looking at Maya anymore. His gaze was now locked on Spencer Sterling. "Mr. Sterling," he said, his voice now devoid of any deference, "I believe you're the one with a lot of explaining to do." Spencer Sterling's entire universe seemed to shrink and implode in that single moment. The air in the penthouse grew heavy, leaving only the incessant buzz from his phone. Each vibration another hammer blow on the coffin of the career and reputation he had built. He stammered, trying to form some kind of explanation, but the words betrayed him. This is a misunderstanding. This data, it's fabricated. She hacked me. But his words were hollow and desperate now. The evidence was there, not just on their phones, but being dissected and shared by thousands, then tens of thousands of people across the world. Officer Riley watched him, his expression pure, cold professionalism. He was no longer a local cop investigating a petty theft. He had become a witness to a much more complex conspiracy. He turned to Officer Evans. Evans, call the FBI's Cybercrime Division. We have a case involving federal-level data fraud and potential market manipulation. Secure the scene. That was the moment Spencer truly understood. He had lost. Not in a legal battle, but in a chess match he didn't even know he was playing. In the midst of the chaos, Maya spoke, her voice uncannily calm, like an island of peace in a storm. Officer, if there's nothing else, am I free to go? I have another job to get to. Officer Riley looked at her, a flicker of respect in his eyes. You can go, ma'am. We'll be in contact with you later as a witness. Maya nodded. She picked up her handbag and walked out the door, leaving behind a man watching his empire crumble, officers initiating a major investigation, and the faint cry of a child who had just lost a father he never truly had. She didn't look back. What happened next was a whirlwind. Just as Officer Riley had requested, the FBI got involved. The scene that opened the video was the result of that call, a full-scale raid to seize all evidence. The hidden mastermind, David Chen, was arrested at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport trying to board a flight to a country with no extradition treaty. He had underestimated the speed of the internet and the efficiency of law enforcement agencies when they had irrefutable proof. Sterling Innovations, once valued in the billions, became a ghost ship. Investors fled, contracts were canceled, and its private market stock value plummeted to zero. It had collapsed in less than 48 hours. Time passed. A year later, Spencer Sterling stood behind the counter of a small computer repair shop in a suburb. He was replacing the screen on a cracked laptop. The hands that once signed multi-million-dollar contracts now worked meticulously with tiny screws. The Penthouse had been sold to cover his massive legal fees. The legal battle with David Chen and the investors would still drag on for years. Occasionally, a customer would recognize him and stare with a look of mixed curiosity and pity. He had learned about technology in a completely different way, not from the heights of power, but from the depths of failure. Meanwhile, in a modern downtown office building, Maya was standing at a podium. She was no longer in a maid's uniform. She wore a tailored suit, looking professional and powerful. Behind her was the logo of an organization, Cold Heart Foundation. She hadn't returned to work for large corporations. Instead, she used her fame, her knowledge, and some of the money donated by the community to establish a nonprofit. Cold Heart provides free courses in cybersecurity, programming, and digital skills to the underprivileged, especially women and immigrants, equipping them with the tools to protect themselves in the modern world. She looked down at the packed auditorium of students, donors, and press, then smiled. Your worth, she said, her voice resonant and inspiring, is not defined by the title you hold or by what others think of you. It's defined by the skills you cultivate and how you use those skills to create change. The story of Maya and Spencer isn't just a story about justice. It's a profound lesson for all of us in today's world. It teaches us the first thing: always upgrade your own skills. In a world where everything can change, knowledge and skills are the only assets no one can take from you. Never stop learning, because you never know when those very skills will become your life raft. It teaches us the second thing: understand your rights and the power of evidence. In the digital age, every action leaves a trace. Calmness and the ability to legally collect and preserve evidence can be the difference between being a victim and being the victor. And finally, it teaches us the most important lesson. True value isn't in a title. Spencer Sterling had everything: money, power, status, but he lacked respect and compassion, and that deficit destroyed him. Maya may have started in a humble job, but she had character, skills, and dignity, and that is the foundation on which a lasting empire is built. If this story about the power of knowledge and character has inspired you, subscribe to the channel. And more importantly, take a second to share a skill you're most proud of in the comments below. It could be writing, cooking, coding, or even the ability to listen. Because sometimes a skill you consider ordinary is the very superpower that can change not just your life, but the world around you.